Hello everybody and welcome to the RACE9 GT Asia Championship Round 4 from the Okayama International Circuit. We've got 10 rounds this season and after today we will have 4 rounds of it done. I believe we're live in qualifying at the moment with just under 5 minutes to go. We've got Ross Clark currently leading the way as things stand. And we've got 20 cars on the grid. Very much looking forward to it. I'm Ewan going to be taking you through the 150-kilometre race here today, which translates to 41 laps. And alongside me is going to be Tom Dillon for this one. Welcome along. Good to have you here. I'm looking forward to this race. I know you are as well. I believe this is the same for you, that neither has actually commentated a race around this circuit before. So, looking forward to it. I know this circuit can produce some great racing as well. So, it should be good.
Should be absolutely spectacular racing this evening, Owen. 41 lap race, as you said, and it's a 3.703 kilometre circuit, which equals out to approximately 41 laps. So it's going to be an absolutely titanic battle in this particular evening. And of course, I've got the championship standings up on my screen, and it's Sven Gillerhood in the GT3 championship, leading the way with 50 points from Lucas Miranda, the Brazilian, with 47 points. And, anyone in the top 6 could quite easily find themselves a championship leader at the end of the proceedings this evening. As for GT300, it's Carlos Frau leading the way with 75 points. So it's going to be an absolutely brilliant race this evening in what's also an absolutely brilliant championship. Japanese sports cars. It's nothing really to dislike.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we've got a good championship fight, especially in GT3 at the moment. Only 3 points separating Sven Gillerhood and Lucas Miranda as well. Miranda's just quite a little bit away off at the moment, down in 19th position, but I can assure you that's not his true pace as things stand. A minute and 12 off of the pace. But he will be able to improve, and this may be the lap. Well, it doesn't look like he's actually on a lap time right now, but expect to see him jump up the order throughout today. We've got 20 cars on the grid though, which is really, really great to see. A lot of these guys out there. It's not that long of a circuit, really. 1 minute 30 in these cars. They're not the fastest in the world. So only a 1 minute 30 lap time. So it is a fairly short one, and we are going to see a fair bit of lapping going on. I mean, these two classes of cars aren't that dissimilar, really. But even so, the lap traffic will come into effect here tonight, that's for sure.
I think in any sports car race, there's always going to be issues with laps traffic, even if they are the same, even if they are in the same class. Of course, laps traffic can really make or break your race. It's really about luck. There's currently 4 temps separating the top 2 here. And as you said, a very short lap, 1 minute 30, which in GT3 and GT300 cars, both of which being very similar spec in terms of their performance on track, as you can see actually by the GT300 cars being right in the mix. Valente leading that class. You're looking at him now in the Subaru. And yes, I think these cars can be very, very nice to drive actually. There's not a lot of aero on them. They've got a fair bit of downforce, but there isn't a lot of aero on there, which means dirty air isn't too much of an issue. So they can follow each other quite closely through the corners, which means in today's race, it should take about an hour. It's going to be very difficult to break that towing, get a lead on the car behind, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be just over an hour for 150 kilometres around here, which is not quite a sprint race distance, really, but it's not quite an endurance race either. It's just kind of in that kind of middle zone where nobody knows quite what to call it. But it should be interesting nevertheless. We're currently looking at Alessandro Valente going through one of the undulations around this circuit. There aren't too many of them. It's not the hilliest circuit we've ever seen, but it is also not exactly flat as Valente goes off the road down around the double left-hander, just about to go onto the bridge, but unfortunately he didn't make it as we get just under 1 minute to go here in qualifying. Ross Clark is out there in the lead at the moment with Oliver Ferry in second place right now as things stand. He's leading the GT3 category, by the way, in the BMW ahead of Sven Gillerhood, who is only a tenth and a half down and not going to be improving in this session because we only have 30 seconds remaining, and so no real time for anybody to make up any more time. Lucas Miranda, by the way, has got up into 15th place, but for someone who's second in the championship, that's not quite where he wants to be. So a few disappointing performances from some of those further down. Miranda's going to be a little bit disappointed with that. And I think Sven Gillerhood will be a little bit disappointed with fourth as well, because he's won a couple of races so far this season. He's going to want to do that again, of course. but he doesn't look like he's quite got the pace for that in qualifying at the moment. Maybe his race pace will be a little bit better.
Well, Sven Gillerhood has won 2 of the 3 races. He withdrew from the first round at Fuji, and then the second round at Fuji was a win, and then Suzuka last time out was a win as well. So he'll be looking to keep that winning form going and build that gap in the championship. So far, not going particularly to plan as the checkered flag flies in this qualifying session.
It does indeed, and we're going to see if Ross Clark is going to hold on. It looks like he is going to at the moment, because Oliver Ferry pulls into the pit lane. He might improve anyway here, Clark. He's currently got 4 attempts on the field, which is a fairly big margin, really. Adds a bit of a slide through the hairpin down at the bottom of the hill, turn 5 there, which is not great, really, for your lap time, but see if he can gather it up and go any faster. It doesn't look like he's going to need to at the moment, because the guys behind him like Ferry, Valente, Guhode, Sattler, all not improving just for the moment. They've all finished their sessions and are in the pit lane as things stand. So the clock's run out, and I believe that's Carlos Frau just in front of Ross Clark here, the championship leader in GT300. Ross Clark goes into the pit lane. That is indeed Carlos Frau, the number 17 Subaru for GT300. Is he going to jump up the order in these next few moments just to get himself a better grid position off of the start? Goes over the line now, but I don't think it's a massive improvement, even if he did get one. And no, he didn't in the end, I'm afraid. So it's 11th place for him, and that's the best he's going to get. Pablo Lopez looks like he's still out there at the moment. No, he's not. He's just come into the pit lane. So that looks like it's it for qualifying. Looks like Ross Clark has taken pole position by 4 attempts, which is a fairly big margin, really, when you think about it. Not that close in the, especially around a circuit which is as short as this one. That is a comfortable margin, and obviously he's going to be very pleased with how that session has gone, Ross Clark.
I think certainly so. Ross Clark isn't really making impressions in the championship. In fact, he's last place in the GT300 championship with 16 points. He got 3rd place last time out, though, so he's definitely building up to that win. And whilst I don't think he's going to be a championship contender, given his absence from the first 2 rounds, I think he's definitely going to at least fight for a couple of race wins, and hopefully for him here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He's well placed to do so as well, with a pole position in this one. Oliver Ferry is in 2nd place. He's leader of the GT3 category, by the way. So we've got 2 of each category on the first row, and we've got the same situation on row 2 as well, actually, with Alessandro Valente and Sven Guhode, Then we've got Killian Sattler in 5th. Oh, I've just pressed a thing, and hopefully that's not broken everything. No, it hasn't. Because we've had a few issues behind the scenes trying to get things to work here, and they've not quite gone as to plan. But either way, we've got 1 of each on the 3rd row as well, actually. And then when you get to the 4th row of Alfie Bevin and Moyes Reyes, things are all GT3 on that particular row. So we're going to have a formation lap to start off with here, and then we'll get into the race. But Moyes Reyes did indeed get pole position last time out at the Suzuka race in the GT3 category, that is, but he's got 3rd on the grid here today. Well, he's not actually 3rd, is he? He's 4th, I think, or 5th. On the grid for this race, so just a little bit further back than where he is used to. But Ross Clark is going to be leading us off on the formation lap in a moment, and then we're going to be getting set for the 41 laps of racing. But he's just got to do the easy part, really, control the field and then get a good getaway. I think it's going to be quite hard for Oliver Ferry to challenge Clark into turn 1, because I wouldn't say turn 1's the best overtaking opportunity, in all honesty.
Well, he's got 13 turns of this 3.7 kilometre circuit to make a move. Of course, the lap record around here is a 1 minute 14. That's Michael Schumacher in 1994. These GT3 cars and GT300 cars won't be getting anywhere near that this evening. But it's a nice, dry evening over there in Japan. And no monsoons, which are quite characteristic of this particular country. Today, it's a perfectly dry session, and that's what you really want from a driver, just a nice Sunday drive. And I think Ross Clark is definitely going to have a chance of a nice Sunday drive this evening.
Let's have a look then at the starting grid for round 4 of the 2021 GT Asia Championship. It's Ross Clark who's qualified on the pole position, and he will be starting in first ahead of Oliver Ferry, who is the leading of those GT3 cars. In the third position, Alessandro Valente is in the Subaru BRZ, also a GT300 car lining up behind the GT300 leader. Then we've got FRA Sim Racing's Sven Gilhode. He's leading the championship coming into round 4, and he will start in the 4th position as well. Kilian Sattler is in 5th place ahead of Pablo Lopez, who is in 6th, currently 2nd place in the GT300 championship. Another FRA Sim Racing car in 7th place at the moment. Alpi Bevin will start from that position alongside Moyes Reyes in the CMP Corsa Audi R8. Then it's the first and only of the Porsches driven by Jonathan Berto, who starts this race quite high up in the championship. Nur Adli is in the 71 car, and he is in 10th place. Carlos Frau, GT300 championship leader, is just outside of the top 10 in 11th, ahead of Lucas Miranda, who is 12th. Constant Grimmiger is in 13th in the BMW, that has a very nice livery, I have to say, ahead of Peter Brown in 14th position. Then on the 8th row of the grid, it's CMP Corsa and OS front row. Carlos Alvarez and Andre Leite starting in their Audis. Then we've got Nick de Villiers in the Mercedes, rolling off 17th ahead of Tyler Wallace in the first of the Lamborghinis in 18th. And then in the second of the Lamborghinis, it's Donnell Bacon in 19th position. And finally, to round off the grid, Nidal Dujovic is in the 20th position for the Subaru BRZ number 43. So that concludes your starting grid for this race. Yeah, I don't know what Michael Schumacher was doing here in an F1 car, if I'm honest with you. But anyway, there's never been a race around here in F1, surely.
Apparently there has.
Small. Really? Wow.
Yes.
Well, I didn't know that. Oh yeah, they have been here in the. Wow. Well, that does surprise me. But there you are. Apparently, in the Pacific Grand Prix, whatever that means.
Pacific Grand Prix 1994. Yeah. That was
there you go.
Particular lap time was set.
I don't know if there's ever one before or after that, but maybe not. I'm not entirely sure. 83 laps it was that day. We're going just about half that today. But yeah, that's where the lap record comes from, as you mentioned. Not going to be troubling that today. Not sure what the hold-up is here for, by the way. We've got 2.5 minutes on the timer at the top of our screen. I hope we're not waiting that out. But yeah, apparently we just sat on the grid for the moment, waiting for the formation lap to start. But I don't really know what this is all about, to be honest.
Oh, you have to say, these tyres are going to be absolutely screaming by the end of this wait. Of course, the engines don't particularly like waiting this long either. And of course, I believe there will have to be a pit stop this evening, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe so as well. Yeah, I believe you're correct. Couple... the race I did at Fuji, which is about a month ago now, was one of those where it was kind of on the fence whether you could do maybe one stop or two in this one. And I think some people got it wrong, obviously. And some people got it right. And in the end, it was Sven Gilhode who won in GT3 and overall, I believe, and then Carlos Frau who came in second but won GT300. I don't know if we're quite going to have the same situation here today, but yeah, it's one of those situations, or it was then, where we had to decide really what the strategy was going to be. But I believe you're correct that there is going to be at least one stop today, and it's not the shortest pit lane, really. It's quite a long way around. Not difficult to get into, but it's certainly a long entrance road as well. So, yeah, that's another thing for these guys to think about as the race unfolds.
Race will be unfolding in 55 seconds. Actually, these drivers will be raring to go. It's never a nice wait on the grid. You've got all that momentum going from qualifying. You want to just get straight into it. Although perhaps it's good if you look at it on the other hand, as it means they get to get into the right momentum, the right kind of mindset heading into the race. Because of course, race driving and qualifying driving is a lot different. You've got 41 laps to not make a mistake. Really, if you do make a mistake, it can be quite costly. It's quite difficult to overtake on this track. As we said, there's a lot of twisting corners that aren't quite overtaking opportunities. Not that it would stop these drivers, though. They're always trying to make up ground. And I think we could see some interesting moves today, actually, especially from some of the, Carlos Frau in 11th position. We actually go to the lights. So if you'd like to take the race starts, Ewan.
Yeah, Here we go. I believe this is for the actual start, and it is indeed, as the lights come on right now. Ross Clark and Oliver Ferry on the front row. Subaru versus BMW in different classes, no less. And we get underway for 41 laps of racing here around the Okayama International Circuit. It's a flying start from Ross Clark off of the opening lap of this race. Around the outside goes one of the BMWs. I think that's Sven Guhode already getting into the lead of GT3, with Killian Sattler getting into third place overall and second in GT3. Not a great start at all from Pablo Lopez, and some of those guys a little bit further down in the GT300 class have not had the best start, as down the inside goes Moises Reyes on Oliver Ferry, who's been shuffled back from the front row. He's now down to 5th place already, as he's now going side by side with the Audi. Pablo Lopez looking to maybe make it 3 wide and try and take advantage of anything that may transpire between these two as they run down towards turn 5 for the first time. Reyes gets down the inside, Ferry is down to 5th, and that is a disastrous start for him, I'm afraid.
It's not been the best of starts at all. Of course, in these races, you don't want to get too flustered off of the race starts, because the second you get too flustered, that's when you lose your rhythm, that's when you lose the the kind of mindset that you need to make 41 laps in this race, as we have the two Audis actually side by side heading through the long left hand of the Subaru in the Audi. Sorry, that was a perfect move from Alfie Bevan. He's making it look easy out there in the GT300 car. I don't think the Audi the Subaru quite has the legs on the Audi, even though it is technically the faster car.
Yeah, technically, I guess, but they're quite evenly matched, really, when we see things play out along the road. It's a bit of an Audi sandwich at the moment for Pablo Lopez. He's going to want to try and get out of it, but preferably not by letting Lucas Miranda through, who's next on his case at the moment. Alessandro Valente is not too far behind, or Valente is not too far behind either. He might be making a move now as Miranda goes wide through turn 2. They go down through turn 3. And this does get a little bit sketchy from time to time, but round the outside goes Valente, and that's a good move for the FRA Sim Racing driver. He's into 8th place ahead of Lucas Miranda. Then we've got Andrea Leite further behind, and then it's Peter Brown who's in 11th place. He's got Christian Alvarez, Carlos Alvarez, not Christian, Carlos Alvarez ahead of Yustanis Berto in 13th place in the Porsche, looking to maybe go down the inside of the Audi in a bit of a Inter GT3 battle, and that's 12th place for Berto, who does indeed get through. Looks like we do have one pit stopper after the opening lap. Nick de Villiers is into the pit lane. He's a GT3 driver, let's not forget, already into the pit lane after lap 1. Can only presume there's been a bit of damage picked up for him there on the opening lap.
That Porsche looked to be limping as well. It had a little bit of damage on the front nose. You could see the black kind just had a few scrapes and bumps on it. This is the Audi trying to get past the BMW of Oliver Frey, that massive BMW. It has to be said, one of the bigger GT3 cars on the grid. But I don't think it's going to deter Alfie Bevan, as he's in the slipstream, and I think he might be wanting to have a go into turn 1. A little bit defensive from Ferry, and he's not quite able to make the move, is Alfie Bevan. He's going to have to stay line of stern for the time being, as Ross Clark, race leader, just set the fastest lap of the race. He's managed to pull out a 3.4 second gap on Sven Gillerhood in the GT3 car. Sven Gillerhood doing really well to make it 3 from 3 for him.
Valente down the inside of Lopez, and he gets through into 7th place. Good exit as well from Alfie Bevan, who draws alongside Ferry. As meanwhile, up the front of the field, Sattler and Reyes are battling. This is Reyes getting down the inside in the Audi, and he gets through now, as Oliver Ferry is on the outside line of Alfie Bevan down there at the hairpin as they go into turn 6 now. Ferry's going to have the inside line, but Bevan's got his car in front and sweeps around the outside to get into 5th position. He's got 2 Subarus behind him now as Oliver Ferry, as one of them goes off. Valente running wide, and Pablo Lopez is not going to say no to that opportunity. Valente straight back down the inside though. A very aggressive manoeuvre at the first of the 2 hairpins, but it's not able to come off for the number 11. He's going to have to just stay behind for now. This is bringing Lucas Miranda into the fight here, and he's now fully involved as they're all trying to get through on the Oliver Ferry. Let's not forget, Ferry is on the medium compound tyres right now, which is why he's getting his ears boxed a little bit in this opening stint, hoping that this race is going to come to him again a little bit later, but he's already been looking in his mirrors a lot throughout this race. and he's going to be doing a little bit more of it throughout the rest, I believe, the way things are going. Anyway, Pablo Lopez, more defending for him as Valente is really hounding him at the moment, really just looking every which way to try and get through, as they're both trying to get through on the BMW at the same time. It's a great battle between these three, and so far they've kept it clean as well. But now Pablo Lopez gets sent down the inside from Valente. Bit of contact through the middle of the corner, but Valente muscles his way through and gets up into P7.
That was an absolutely textbook move, and I always say in racing that you want to be on the worst tyre whilst you're in traffic. Whilst you're losing the time anyway, you might as well take the opportunity to try and keep track position, then push on when you're in the clean air on the newer tyres. That Audi has got a little bit of damage. You can see creases on that front right hand side. Here's driver's left, actually. It's Carlos Frau. He's had a storming lap. He's gained a couple of positions on that previous lap, lap 3. Ross Clark has set another fastest lap of the race, 1:29.5 last lap, and that is also the best lap of the race, as we said. That's a second faster than Sven Gillerhood in the GT3.
Yeah, going very quickly at the moment is Ross Clark, goes over the line again with a 29.5, followed by Sven Gillerhoud, who does just about a second worse off than that. That's the kind of gaps we're expecting to see, and we're expecting it to go out as well. Alfie Bevan going quite quickly at the moment, though, as well. He's on a wheel on the grass for Lopez, and wow, that's a good save. I thought for sure he was going to lose the car there, but he manages to gather it all up nicely, and Lopez continues on in 8th place, but goodness me, was that a moment going down towards turn 1. And Valente now is so close to the back of Oliver Ferry, I don't think that he's going to have much to say about this. Valente is going to be coming through whether he likes it or not, and straight away again down there at turn 4, he just sends it in there, and it doesn't really give the right of reply to the person he's sending it in on, because he just gets straight through, parks the car in the middle of the corner, and then there's no way of getting back through again for the BMW. So Oliver Ferry is shuffled back one more position again. He's now into 7th place. Pablo Lopez and Lucas Miranda are both very close behind. It looks like it's not going to take Lopez very long to get through at this rate.
Don't think the medium tyre is quite working for Oliver Ferry. Alessandro Valente, though, is a man on a mission. He's had a storming couple of laps indeed, and this is going to be the move, I think, from Pablo Lopez. He's trying to get as close as he can. He's going to try it around the outside, trying to just get that exit worsened for Oliver Ferry. It hasn't quite worked out for him. He's had to go off the racing line, but he's going to try and just tuck in behind him and perhaps make a move down this front straight. Look at him, he's closing and he's closing. It's a matter of time, I think. Oliver Ferry's definitely on the wrong tyre at the wrong time, despite what the theory tells you.
Yeah, absolutely. He is at the moment. So, but other battles going on up and down the field. Killian Sattler is holding off Alfie Bevan, who really is flying at the moment. He's got a good exit off of turn 2 and a good run down here, down the hill at turn 3, which is all one corner, by the way, even though it's a bit of a jink left and right and then left again. But I quite like the fact that it's only one corner. Either way, Alfie Bevan tucking under the inside now of the BMW and getting a good exit as well, as they run side by side, almost dead even between the two of them through this sector of the circuit, using a little bit of speed from the Audi to try and get through. Bevan's now got the inside line, but Sattler's putting up a fight on the outside. He has to swing wide though, and Bevan gets through rather nicely there, actually, into 4th position. Meanwhile, Oliver Ferry has lost another position as Pablo Lopez does indeed get through. He looks like he's finding his feet though a little bit, Ferry, here, because Lucas Miranda is not quite catching up quite as much as he was before, and we are going to reach a point where those mediums are going to be a lot better than they are seeming at the moment.
Oliver Ferry is only a couple tenths off the rest of the field. He's doing 132.7s. The top guys are doing 131s and 130s, but the people around him are matching his times quite nicely, so it's confusing that he just hasn't got the traction on the exit of these corners, and he's just a bit of a sitting duck at the minute in that BMW. As I said, he's definitely on the wrong tyres, but he'll hope that later in the race the pendulum can kind of swing back in his direction and he can get back up the order.
Yeah, absolutely. It does swing around a fair amount. These races tend to. So, we'll no doubt see him again up towards the front, towards the end of this race, in whatever position that may be. He'll probably be up there. So Killian Sattler also is the other man on the medium tyres, really inside of the top 10 at the moment. The other two are outside of the top 15 right now, and nearly a minute off of the leader's pace. So those who are up the front are Killian Sattler and Oliver Ferry in terms of those who are on mediums as things stand. But as we've seen with Ferry, it's kind of levelling off now for Sattler as well, and the pace of those around him are starting to slow a little bit. He is being caught slightly by Alessandro Valente, but I think Valente is just driving quite quickly at the moment, really, rather than anything else. As Carlos Frau gets through on Andre Leite, I believe that was a mistake from Leite, and that's not the first one I've seen from him today. We saw him going a little bit slowly through turn 4 a little bit earlier, and it looks like he's had another mistake at that corner.
I mean, you can see that he's got a little bit of damage on the front of that Audi. A wonderful livery, actually, the number 4 car. But I think he's just having a little bit of issues with understeer, as we've seen him make a couple of mistakes now, as you said. And he's going to need to come in and get that changed at the pit stop. I think he won't lose too much time as we look at Alessandro Valente, who is a man on a mission. His lap times are much, much better than the people around him, almost within the second range, and he's going to look to pick off that BMW like he's picked off so many people in the first 10 laps or so of this race.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been really exciting to watch, actually, trying to get his way through on Pablo Lopez a little bit earlier on, and Oliver Ferry as well, as that's a mistake from Sattler, and he wasn't really going to put up a fight there. A little bit close between the two of them through turn 3. That corner is something you do have to think about in these cars, because they are quite fast, but as you mentioned earlier, the downforce is not that prominent in these cars, so when you're going side by side through turn 3, it can get a little bit nerve-wracking, but those two just about sorted themselves out with good time, and Valente gets in front of Sattler fairly easily in the end.
Turn 3, the Moss S, a wonderful little corner on this circuit. In fact, this circuit's got a load of wonderful corners. The run up from turn 3 into the Atwood curve. Brilliant little section of racetrack. This is Alfie Bevan, who's also been going along quite nicely in his machine. 1:31.4 his previous lap. That's 1/10 slower than both cars around him. I don't think he'll mind at this stage in the race, because 1/10 is not a lot at all when it comes to a longer race such as this one.
I've just noticed his livery as well. That's quite funny, actually. Yeah, if anybody's seen the Top Gear episodes from about 2007, I think it was, and then that will ring a few bells. The fake, what do you call it? The fake advertisements on the side will ring a few bells as well. So there you are. But yeah, that's quite. That is, yeah. Well,
believe it or not, Penistone is actually a real place in the UK.
Yeah, I know. I went very recently.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I really did. I was quite surprised to find out that it was real, but I only knew that fact a few weeks ago when I went. So, well, not intentionally, I might add. I just drove past it. But anyway, that's a story for another day. Alfie Bevan is very close now to the back of Moyes Reyes. He did get a little bit of a slide through the hairpin once again, but he is generally closing on Reyes, and Valente is not too far behind as well, so it looks like we're going to get a bit of a 3-car battle going on between these guys now as they go through the hairpin, and yeah, it's 2 Audis versus 1 Subaru. I think Valente is going to be very, very difficult to stop at this point.
I wouldn't fancy being the person with Valente in my mirrors. That's the kind of time when you just want to tactically concede. There's a little bit of a mistake from Bevan. He rides the curb a little bit aggressively there, and that's just playing into Valente's hands all that little bit more, and he's going to look to make his opportunity. Of course, it's a very, very long race. We're only about a quarter of the way through it as it stands, and you want to let the move come. The move will always come. You just can't force it, because if you force it, that's when you make a mistake. And, of course, mistakes can be very, very costly when you haven't got a lot of time in the grand scheme of things to get back up the order.
Yeah, absolutely. You really are working on a bit of a limited amount of time in this one. Although it is an hour-long race, you can take your time to a degree, but not take the mick with it. Yeah, 7 tenths of a second Valente took out of the 2 in front of him on the last lap, and they're pretty much matching lap times as things stand. So, yeah, Valente's catching them both fairly easily. Pablo Lopez doesn't look like he's quite got the pace to keep up with Valente, and that would be a battle for second place in class. Ross Clark is leading the race and the class at the moment for GT300, and this is the battle for second and third in GT3 between these 2 Audis, and I guess it's a bit of a fight to be the best Audi as well in this race for the moment. So, yeah, about a quarter of the way through the race, and Valente has spent most of it overtaking cars. Turn 4 has been his favourite overtaking spot so far, that he hasn't quite been able to work that magic on the back of Alfie Bevan just for the moment. Reyes is not too far in front either, so it looks like he might be able to pick these two off within pretty short order if he gets things, if he plays his cards right here.
Well, of course, there's no points for manufacturer championships, but I'm sure they would want the pride of it. You can't use pride in racing, though. You have to swallow it a little bit when it comes to these kind of races and just kind of work together almost to keep the faster guy behind, you'd imagine. If they can break that toe to Valente, then Valente's going to have a much more difficult time getting by. And if I'm not mistaken, that Subaru will have a better engine in the back of the car than these two Audis, so it's going to be on the straights where he pulls out the advantage. Although I seem mistaken, the Audi seem to pull out a little bit of a gap down that straight as they head through down to, I believe this would be the Moss S of turn 3.
Yeah, I think it's quite close between the two of them on straight line speed, really, because I haven't really been able to work out which is better. So we'll just call it fairly close between the two different classes in terms of this one. Let's not forget, in GT300, only the Subaru uses basically a one-car class, really, whereas in GT3 there's a load of different ones. The BMW, the Audi, the Porsche, and the Lamborghini, and the Mercedes can all be used excuse me, in this race, and indeed in the championship, GT Asia. So, yeah, it's a good variety on the circuit at the moment, with these two Audis just battling away as things stand. But, yeah, it's quite... they always do get a little bit loose off of the curb there at turn 7, that is. So it just make you a little bit nervous. But, yeah, this free-car battle doesn't look like it's being prized apart just for the moment. They're running nose to tail, but nobody really making any moves from the moment. Bevan's probably the closest he's ever been right now as they run through the final two corners.
I think Bevan just doesn't want to rush the move. Of course, these GT3 cars can be quite squirrely on the exit of corners. As we said, they haven't got a lot of downforce. They've certainly got more downforce on the rear than on the front, which means the rear end can get a little bit loose through some of the corners. You can see braking really hard into turn 1, down turn 2 and turn 3, and Bevan just wants to get past. He's been all over the bumper of Race, basically all race. He needs to really get a move on if he wants to go and attack Gillihood ahead for the GT3 overall win. As they head through Atwood curve now of turn 4, all the way up the hill, along a big straight now into a corner simply named The Hairpin. I think this might be the opportunity for Bevan. He's very close. He's going to pull to the outside. Race goes very, very defensive, and Bevan brakes as late as he dares, and he's not quite able to make the move. Perhaps on the switchback, it's not going to quite present itself. He's going to have to concede for a moment and perhaps have a go into turn 1, which is a very big overtaking opportunity, actually.
Well, he's still not able to get through for the moment. Rose defending quite well down into the hairpin on that occasion. In the background there was Pablo Lopez and Kilian Sattler actually battling, but Lopez wasn't able to get through for the moment, so we'll stay with this battle for third place overall. Bit of a slide coming out of the turn number 9 there on that lap from Alfie Bevan, but he's gathering it all up nicely, and there's a bit of lap traffic involved in front as well. One of the Subarus getting involved, but I'm not sure which one that is, looking to dive out of the way on the right-hand side. They're opening up the overtaking opportunity maybe for Alfie Bevan to have a go here, but he doesn't. He's very, very close though, and Valente is very close to him. So where are they going to go? There's almost no space left, and it's space full of Audi at the moment for Valente as these two battle. Good exit from Bevan, and he's almost pushing Reyes down the hill. Now, can he make a move into turn 4? He gets a bit of a run, but Reyes goes defensive, and now he's going to have to go round the outside of Alfie Bevan, maybe going for the cutback. Oh, it's on the grass. He's on the curb trying to get this move done. And now Valente is going to fancy his chances because neither of them got a great run, and he's going to have a massive slipstream as these two Audis run side by side towards the hairpin. Who's going to prevail in this battle? Valente is trying to get involved himself as Reyes sweeps round the outside, takes the position away and keeps it for himself. He's third place at the moment, would dearly like to keep it. There's lap traffic involved as well with the Lamborghini on the right-hand side. They all get through fairly nicely, and then Bevan with another good exit. Reyes goes defensive into turn 8. Now, can he hold on again? Or will Bevan finally dethrone him? It doesn't look like he's going to. The cutback again, but it leaves him the outside again. Maybe another cutback, but Reyes defends very well. Parks the car doesn't let Bevin through. This is an absolute masterclass in defending at the moment. Bevin's got no way of getting through, even though he clearly is the faster driver as things stand.
Brilliant defensive driving, making that Audi GT3 appear as wide as possible. Bevan's going to have a go, though, into turn one. He's around the outside. Very defensive from RACE9. He seems to just be able to go as defensive as he does around the outside. Has he got the legs, Alfie? He's got the inside line heading into the next corner. Valente's trying to eat the scraps of this. He's got the inside line. He's going to be able to get past as well. Alfie Bevan has the move signed, sealed and delivered. You have to feel it now. It's going to be Valente who tries to make it 2 overtakes in 2 corners on RACE. I think RACE has just maybe got it. In fact, no. All the way around the outside, Valente. What an absolutely spectacular move that was. It's not over yet, I don't think.
No, it's probably not. Valente's got the slipstream here, and I think he might have a go on Alfie Bevan. It looks like Ray is not giving up just for the moment. As Valente down the inside, trying to make 2 overtakes in 1 lap, and it looks like he's done it. What a fantastic dive bomb that was at the hairpin. First of all, we have Bevan going round the outside of Reyes at turn 1. That was enough for 1 lap, really, but Valente decided otherwise. Around the outside at turn 4, and then down the inside at the very next corner. 2 overtakes in 2 corners. Absolutely spectacular driving from Valente so far. It's been an absolute overtaking from a textbook almost from Alessandro Valente so far today. Unfortunately, he's found himself 23 seconds away from the leader, so getting himself a shot at the race win today might be a bit of a stretch, but what a fantastic drive he's had so far.
And of course, this is his first race, his rookie race. Actually, Valente, he isn't classified in the championship as of yet, which means this is in fact his first time in the GT Asia Championship here at RACE9. Alfie Bevan, though, won't be too disappointed at losing that overall 3rd place to Valente, because of course he's now got 2nd place in GT3, and I think they'll both set their sights on Sven Gellerhard ahead, of course, your points leader in GT3.
Yeah, currently leading by 3. Oh, it's down the inside, goes Reyes. He's not giving up just for the moment, but that's too much of a dive bomb. And Bevan just sweeps up the inside and gets his position back. But Reyes looks like he's going to get into the slipstream, and he's not going to take this one lying down. He's going to try and get back in front. This is the battle for 2nd in GT3. And Reyes is not giving up on it just yet. Into the hairpin they go. Bevan half defends, but Reyes sends it again. He sends it too much, and he's gone wide too much for the 2nd corner in a row. And Bevan holds on to the place, 4th place overall for the moment. Killian Sutler and Pablo Lopez are going to be rubbing their hands together watching this at the moment, because they're both catching on from behind due to the battling going on between these two.
Well, that was optimistic at best by RACE. He's just losing his head a little bit. He doesn't need to force the move. We're not even halfway through this race. We're only just over a quarter of the way through it. In fact, he needs to just stay behind, and if the move comes, the move will come. But he's got a good result already. He's only going to harm both of their races if he keeps going for optimistic moves like the 2 we've just seen there.
Yeah, absolutely. But the remark I was making before he interrupted me a little bit there was Lucas Miranda being only 3 points away from Sven Gellerhard at the moment in the championship standings. Now, in .race9 you get 25 points for a victory in your class. We're going to have to work out where Lucas Miranda is in the GT3 category. I believe him to be in 7th place, possibly, with the 10th overall at the moment. That would only give him 9 points, so he'd be losing 16 at the moment, and he'd have a deficit of 19 by the end of the day. And so, really, there's nobody in the... I mean, Andre Leite is not having the best of days either. He's in 8th place in class. Alfie Bevan and Reyes are the next 2. They're only 1 point apart, and they're not too far behind Gellerhard, so they are not losing them that many points. Berto is not even here. Oh, no, sorry, he is just in front of Miranda. He's 6th place, and Valente is he's classified in the GT3 Championship, but he's driving a GT300 car today, so I'm presuming those points won't carry over, and so obviously they won't count towards his GT3 tally. He presumably gets a new one for his GT300 drives, but he's currently in 7th place in this championship, and got 2nd place last time out at Suzuka, by the way, in GT3. So he's certainly not a bad driver by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, not going to be scoring points for that championship here today. It looks like Bevan and Reyes are the ones who are really closest at the moment to the Sven Gellerhard at the moment, who's completely dominating this championship as things stand with 2 race wins so far. So it's going to be very, very difficult for him to be stopped at this point. He's got about 10-second lead in class.
Well, he's definitely found his forte in this Asian GT racing. Of course, Grand Touring GT stands for, and this has certainly been a grand race indeed. A Grand Prix, actually, I guess you could say. So, we are currently on lap 17. It feels like Valente just isn't able to eke out a gap over these two Audis, and the Audis can't jump each other as well. They're definitely keeping everyone on it, and not given much breathing space at all, which is kind of good in a way. It means you aren't able to really stop and think and make those mistakes from complacency, and I think this is actually helping them get away from the chasing pack, as they haven't really been battling, but they have been reaping the benefits of each other's slipstream. It's like a nice little train, as you could say.
Yeah, it is for the moment. I mean, Svengo did win the GT4 Cup, let's not forget, in 2020 to 2021, so he has just have experience in GT racing, and he's very quick, we know that, but yeah, once again, leading by about 10 seconds at the moment to these two who can't stop battling really at the moment. When Bevan was behind Reyes a few moments ago, I really thought both Bevan had a lot more pace in the pocket, but he doesn't seem to have that at the moment. He's actually defending, he's braking actually down towards turn 1, pulling over to the right hand side and letting Reyes back through again. Don't know what that was all about. If he'd maybe done a bump and run or an unfair pass, then I might have been able to explain that one, but I've no idea why he's done that. He just pulled onto the right hand side, let Reyes through, for no reason that's quite apparent to me.
They're not on the same team, so it makes absolutely zero sense whatsoever, unless Bevan thinks, I just want to sit behind you and then get that advantage from the slipstream. I'm not too sure what decision that was made there, unless he feels like he's going to lose much more time battling Reyes than letting him through. You don't see, because Bevan's got better lap times than Reyes. In fact, the only person they're losing to is the person behind, who's much, much faster than.
Well, for the moment, yeah, it's it kind of fluctuates a little bit. As soon as those guys stop battling, I feel like Sattler's just dropped back ever so slightly again. And Lopez can't really do much to come around him at the moment. So, yeah, it's ebbing and flowing, as you might expect at this point. Just about to hit halfway in this GT Asia race, round 4 of our championship for 2021, as Bevan's now giving it another go. He's certainly giving us the entertainment so far in this race. Ray is defending once again, and yeah, this just wasn't happening when Bevan was in front, so I can't see why he would make the decision to let race through, but here we are. I'm certainly not complaining, because it's a fantastic battle we're seeing between these two Audis. So well matched. They're in the same machinery, of course. There'll be slight differences in the setup, but very, very well matched, clearly. And so it doesn't look like it's going to, or it's going to take quite a lot to actually separate these two here today, because, yeah, they're just very, very similar in the way they are at the moment. And if they do battle too much, then Sattler and Lopez are going to be involved as well, which will be interesting to watch.
For sure, and Sattler and Lopez will be wanting these two to battle ahead, because of course, as we see, again, going for the move, Alfie Bevan, of course, the more they battle, the more they lose time. And this is what's baffling about the fact Bevan lets Reyes through. It kind of has lost them both time. They're both having to go defensive or, you know, make an optimistic move every single corner, and it's, as we said, it's just losing them time to the cars behind. It's a very, very interesting strategy for sure. Whether I call it a good strategy is a different question.
Yeah, well, it does seem a bit strange to me, really, about how this is really transpiring at the moment, but I'm sure there's some reason, some method in the madness at the moment, but yeah, I guess we'll find out. But the other battles that are going on at the moment, Sattler and Lopez we've already mentioned, but Lucas Miranda and Carlos Frau are also battling a little bit further down the field, and even further down the field than that, we do have a fair few lap cars at the moment. 13 cars are still on the lead lap. The most laps down of anybody is Stein Gruminger, who's in 20th place at the moment, and 5 laps down already, I'm afraid. So don't know quite what's happened there, but Alessandro Valente is into the pit lane, stops in his box right now. So first of the pit stops, not quite halfway. I wonder if this is just a little bit of an undercut, or whether he can't quite make it to half distance in this race. I'm sure it is just an undercut, and we're going for a one-stop strategy in this one, or he's going for a one-stop strategy in this one. But yeah, Valente is coming out of the pit lane right now, and there he is, pops out now, and He's going to be in front of Tanis Berto. So clean air for Valente, which is important. 8th place for him right now. And so we'll see where he gets up to and what he gets up to now with the soft tyres on in the second half of this race.
And he'll definitely be able to make the end of the race with those soft tyres. We've seen soft tyre runners keeping equal lap times to what they were doing before at this stage in the race. So I'm sure he's only going to have extra speed right now. And that will be such a nice, refreshing feeling getting out of the pits, being able to put your foot down, and the extra grip those soft tyres are able to afford. And this is taking the pressure off a little bit from the Race-Bevan battle. And in fact, I think these two battling means that this will be a smart move from Valente, is he's able to eke out a gap a little bit more on the fresh tyres whilst they're having that little scrap. Well, little. We've seen it quite a lot throughout this race. This is also going to let him have the pace advantage on Sven Gillehud, who's also stopping, I think. What's happened to Ross Clark? He is in the pits.
Wow. I thought he was feeding the pit lane there, because he was just going so quickly that I thought he must have been speeding, but no, he wasn't. And I'm presuming that's all fine. Comes out side by side with Nick de Villiers, I think that is, in the 17th position in the Mercedes, but he's out now. Ross Clark, despite the fact he's been for a pit stop, he's in second place. That just shows to you what a lead he had. And it's going to be difficult for anybody to really close that margin with only half of the race to go at this point. He looks very much in control of this.
If Ross Clark loses the race, it will definitely be one of the surprises of the season. As we said, rookie race last time out, 3rd position, and he's just come here and he's absolutely dominated all evening. Lap 21 of 41. I mean, a lot can happen yet. It's only job half done. And unfortunately, the Grand Slam has slipped through his fingers because he won't be leading lap 21 unless Van Gillehud comes in this lap, in which case the Grand Slam will count. So I don't quite think that's on. So the ultimate prize in racing isn't quite going to be afforded to him, but I'm sure it will be a little meaning to him anyway, considering he'll still get the championship points, which is of course all that matters in this championship, or in any championship actually.
Yeah, I mean, there's still time for him to close the margin held by Carlos Frau at the moment. Came into the day 59 points behind, so it's a big margin, but certainly closable, as Gillehud does indeed come into the pit lane at the end of that lap. So Ross Clark does lead. Well, I don't know if he led it or not, but it doesn't really matter anyway, because he's out there in the lead again. Sattler and Lopez move into 2nd and 3rd place respectively, with Gillehud and Reyes both into the pit lane. Here's Alfie Bevan just getting through, and Andre Leite, and he was battling with Reyes, let's not forget, so we'll see where he comes out in relation to him, and he's had a bit of traffic on this lap, as you've just seen, with Leite being cast aside, so we'll see now whether Bevan can retake what was 3rd or 4th place on the road, and where he's going to be out now. He gets ahead of Miranda, but where's he going to be in terms of Reyes? He's in front, and fairly easily so as well. Leite actually gets in front of Reyes as well, which is not going to help the CMP course driver at all, and he's going to have to get through on another fellow Audi in this one. Swings wide, actually, just Leite. I wonder if they are teammates and whether that was just being nice. No, they're not teammates. He was just swinging wide, presumably having done a mistake there. But either way, it doesn't really matter because he's found his way through. Now, Valente is down the inside of Gillehud. He's made a fantastic pit stop, a fantastic undercut from Valente. And look at the time he's gained on Alfie Bevan, over 10 seconds compared to when he came into the pit lane. I wonder if he's doing a two-stop strategy, as there's a bit of an altercation going on between Dujovic and Grimminger. I believe that is the two of those guys getting involved, as Lopez and Sattler also begin to battle coming through the final corners, because Sattler's into the pit lane at the end of that lap. Lots of goings on at the moment, but Valente gets in front of Gillehud, and I wasn't expecting that to happen.
Well, that is the upset of the season. Valente doing absolute magic work in that Super. He's definitely got that car tuned up to its maximum, at least the maximum he can get out of that. Of course, Ross Clark has got the measure of him a little bit in this race, but Sven Gillehud must have made a mistake or something, because you don't lose that much time over a pit stop window. Gillehud's still GT3 leader though, so it won't be too much to him.
Still in a good place, certainly. And well, he's not GT3 leader at the moment, but Oliver Ferry hasn't been in the pit lane yet, so he's kind of the GT3 leader. and will be in the not too distant future. But Valente is just on an absolute tear at the moment. It's fantastic to watch and come through the field as things stand. Unfortunately, Bevin and Race have not quite got out as close as they were before, which is a little bit disappointing for us because their battle has been electric so far as well. But I'm sure we can get Valente to provide us some more entertainment through the second half of this race. He's currently working the back of Oliver Ferry, who's still out there on the medium tyres, running this stint a little bit longer in that BMW, and it looks like he's going to be in trouble because down the inside tries to go Alessandro Valente. Ferry swings wide, doesn't really want to get involved in this, but he's got the inside line for the next corner. It's going to be a long way round for Valente to try and do this. Little bit of a squeeze between the two, and to get out of all of it, Ferry comes into the pit lane. So that battle is short-lived a little bit, but it looks like Valente was going to get through anyway.
Yes, definitely. I think Valente just had the better tyres, the new soft tyres, versus the 24-lap old medium tyres. Of course, Ferry had gone a lot longer on those medium tyres than anyone else on the soft tyres, which is as to be expected. He didn't quite get the pace advantage at the end of that stint, though, that he was quite hoping for. It'll be interesting to see what tyres he fits. Hopefully for him it's the soft tyres, because I don't think that medium stint was all too successful for the young man. I think he'll be a little bit disappointed with how this race has panned out for him so far, as he is out of the pits now, I believe. This is still Valente we're following, though, who's probably been my personal driver of the day. He started way down the order. He's all the way back up to third position, and Pablo Lopez hasn't stopped yet, so it will be a net second position for Valente.
Lopez has been he's been second on 3 occasions so far in all 3 rounds, and they've all been to the same man as well. Carlos Frau's won 3 races on the bounce in GT300, but now it looks like he's going to be denied, really, because he's over a minute behind Ross Clark. As into the pit lane comes Pablo Lopez. He's followed in by Nick de Villiers, in the Mercedes, I believe that is, behind him anyway, coming into the pit lane. So Lopez does indeed coming from second place. Is going to give that over now to Alessandro Valente, who is being hounded ever so slightly by Sven Guhode in behind. And it's a good fight going on between these two at the moment. It's not in the same category, I might add, but it doesn't mean these guys aren't going to fight for it. The BMW looks like he's honing in on the back of the Subaru. Is he going to dive it into turn 1? No. He stays behind for now, and you see the extra speed that the Subaru takes through turn 1. It definitely seems like the high, medium speed corners in the first couple of corners of this circuit seem to play into his hands a little bit here for Valente, and he's just edging away slightly.
Well, yes, this has definitely been a battle of the heavyweights. One of the best drivers we've seen in GT300 today versus the best driver we've seen all season in GT3. Of course, Sven Guhode only leading the championship standings by 3 points. That will be unimportant to him, as he has done 1 race less than most of the other GT3 drivers, which means it's been mighty impressive, actually, him getting those 2 race wins. I don't think he's going to have the pace to overtake Valente today. I don't think he needs to overtake Valente today. If I was him, I would just stay there and just be there at the end, because he's already got the GT3 win in hand, you'd probably say. He just needs to keep it calm and keep it smooth.
Yeah, absolutely, and he would be taking the victory home if he does indeed do that. But easier said than done, certainly. So third place overall at the moment for Guhode, and one thing that does have to be said at the moment, that as the way things are shaping up right now, after 4 rounds of the championship, as we leave Okayama, it looks like he's going to have more than 20 points of a championship lead here, and that's by no means insurmountable at this stage in the season. We're still only 4 rounds into a 10-race season. That all comes to a climax at the Lausitz Ring on the 10th of July, which is not really in Asia, but we'll let them off for that. We do have a couple of races that are not in Asia for the final 2 races, if that calendar on the website is up to date, because apparently
40% of the season not in Asia.
Yeah, that is a good point, really. Which is slightly bizarre, really, with the 2 rounds at Nürburgring. Or the 1 round at Nürburgring, 1 round at Lausitz Ring, so 2 rounds outside of Asia. But if that's up to date, we might add, because it could be wrong, but nobody's told us. So don't blame us if we've got that wrong. And we have races around other circuits later on in the year. But at the moment, Sven Gerhard is in a very good place. With that big championship lead, it's certainly not over. But as off the road goes Alfie Bevan, and through goes Reyes and Sattler. Now, where's this going to end between these two? Turn 6 down the inside for Bevan, but Sattler hangs it round the outside through these double left-handers, and he's made that work. That's a fantastic move from Sattler to get in front. And so Bevan, after that mistake, it's cost him 2 places, and he's going to have to work hard to get them back.
Drama for the number 23. That was not what we wanted. He's made the move perfectly, capitalising on a mistake from the number 28 BMW. It's around the outside. He hasn't quite got the legs. That BMW is a very wide car, naturally. I'm sure Sattler is going to make that car even wider as we head through the final corner. Bevan's going to be very frustrated with himself. He was driving absolutely perfectly. He's gone from P2 in GT3 all the way down to P4. That's not an ideal mistake for him to make whatsoever. You've seen, we said in 41 laps, it's very easy to make a little mistake. He's proven it there. And I do apologise earlier. I said 40% of the championship isn't in Asia. I completely forgot that both Thailand and Sepang are in Asia. That was my personal mistake.
Yeah, they are. In that particular, but I guess if you want to say 40% of this season are not in Japan, so there you go.
I think that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't really matter, does it? It's no. All these circuits are great circuits on the calendar. We actually go to Motegi twice. We've already been to Fuji twice for rounds 1 and 2. We're going to Motegi twice, but not quite the same layout. We're going to the West layout in 2 weeks' time on the 8th of May, and then we're going to the normal layout. I'm not entirely sure what a West layout looks like at Motegi, actually, but maybe it uses the other pit straight I've seen on the Motegi circuit. But anyway, we'll have to see when we get to it in a couple of weeks' time, and it will be live here on the .race9 YouTube channel. Sorry, not YouTube. It's on the Twitch channel, excuse me. And you'll be able to watch that. Looking forward to it as when that rolls around. Indeed, hopefully some more racing like this, what we've seen so far. At the moment, looks like Reyes is going to have a bit of defending to do throughout the rest of this race. Kilian Sattler is behind him for Spartan Racing Team, and let's not forget he was on the medium compound tyres through the first stint, so he wasn't that quick, but now he's got the soft on. He is starting to find his feet, and he is going quickly, really starting to trouble the back of Reyes, who's in 5th place right now.
Well, I think that mistake from Bevan was what Sattler really needed to try and close the gap to the charging Reyes, and I think sometimes you just need a little bit of luck to come your way in racing. We've seen so many championships actually decided completely on a luck basis, you could argue, and Sattler, however, is also making moves on Pablo Lopez, who's only about 3 seconds ahead of him, if I'm not mistaken. But, Sattler hanging in there, and I suppose waiting for his time to bounce. It will come eventually in the last quarter or so of this race. He's just got to let it happen.
Yeah, really, he's just got to let this race unfold in front of him, and it may turn out to be good indeed for him. Very close to the back of Reyes now, though, looking maybe like he was trying to go down the inside at turn 9 there, but it didn't transpire. So close, though, and almost trying to defend into the ultimate corner there was the Spaniard, and this is getting extremely exciting now between these two. And well, that's actually a pretty good exit out of the final corner from Reyes, and it looks like he's going to be okay now to get into turn 1 in 5th place and stay there. I believe he will do. Slightly inside line through that corner to help him out, as there's a Subaru in front. I believe that's Dujovic of the Bosnia and Herzegovina in 18th position. He gets out of the way and down the S's. It's a little bit sketchy down that particular portion of the racetrack, and now Sattler's going to dive down the inside. Reyes can't defend, so he goes for the cutback. We'll see if he does. It's a little bit wide from Sattler, but he's going to get some monster speed off of the corners. They go up the hill and now over the rise, side by side, and Sattler's through. He's got his car in front. He's going to even be able to defend into the hairpin if he indeed wants to. He's going to have to, because Reyes is back down the inside again. He sends it in deep, but is it too deep? He's actually adjusted it quite well this time, but it's a cutback from Sattler. Bit of contact as they dive into the next corner side by side. 2 left-handers coming up, but that doesn't faze Sattler at all. He goes round the outside of both of them, and he takes 5th place away from Reyes, and that was a good fight between the two of them, but Sattler was always going to come out on top, and in the end, he has prevailed.
Perfect driving from the both of them. You could argue that a really late move from Reyes, but fended off quite nicely from the BMW. You have to feel that Reyes is a little bit, just a little bit unlucky there to not pull off that move. I think anyone else on the grid, he would have made that stick. But what spectacular racing. No contact as well. It's been completely clean through our eyes so far.
Well, we just see one particular incident with, we believe it was Konstantin Grimminger, and I believe it was Dujovic as well. If they were in the wall coming out of turn 8, or turn 7, sorry, in the opening lap, a couple of laps. But other than that, I don't believe I've seen anybody on the side of the road or any particular issues for anybody. So it has been a very clean race. And a very enjoyable race as well. 20 cars started it, and I believe we still have 20 at the moment. Going to see about Taylor Wallace. He's been in the pit lane for a minute, so don't know if he's staying there for the remainder of this race or he's just having a long pit stop at the moment. But 12 laps down as things stand. There have been some issues for those a little bit further down. You know, some of these guys are a lap down because of the pace that they're running at. It's just not quite as quick as Ross Clark, as nobody's is really. But you know, some of these guys really have had a few issues, particularly Taylor Wallace down there in 20th place in the Lamborghini. You know, he's not even on lap 20 yet, and you know, Ross Clark is getting into the final quarter of his race. So yeah, it has been unfortunate for him on the issue. And we were talking about no issues, but we just seen one for Andre Leite, who gets passed by Lucas Miranda after a bit of an accident coming out of turn 2.
Well, shouldn't affect him too hard. These cars are very, very robust. The GT3 cars, that his car looks like it has been in the wars. That poor Audi, a wonderful orange livery, number 4 in the GT Asia Championship, of course. You can see from the side of that car. And I was going to point out, Ewan, that Ross Clark is 9/10 faster than anyone else in this race. And that is spectacular pace. 129.5 is fastest lap. That's not too far off of his 128 qualifying pace.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say that actually on the opening laps of the race. He was really going for it and hasn't looked back really. Going to come across the line here once again. He's behind Leite, I believe this is. Just in front of him in one of the Porsches, or the Porsche. Sorry, it's Johannes Berto who he's in front of. But it's a 30.9 on that lap there from Ross Clark. Maybe a bit of traffic, maybe just a little bit of an off lap for him, but he's still extending the margins to Van Giehoed, who is in second place at the moment, ahead of Alessandro Valente. That pass did happen as we were watching the battle between Kilian Sattler and Moise Reyes. Those two were fighting quite entertainingly, so we were watching that as that was happening. But Berto is now about to get past. He pulls over to the right hand side, and now we only have 9 cars on the lead lap. Absolutely brutal pace from Ross Clark. And I wouldn't be surprised if only 7 cars were on the lead lap by the end. I don't think Carlos Frau and Oliver Ferry are too far up the road for him to actually maybe even lap them by the end of this race.
Well, he's certainly got a fire in his belly for this race. He doesn't need this pace. If I was his team, I was only got a 34-second gap. Slow down. You've got 10 laps to go. You need to just relax and control the pace better, but I don't think anything's going to stop him now. He makes a little bit of a mistake, uncharacteristic for someone of Ross Clark's class. I think if he keeps going up this, he's already going to almost half the lead of Carlos Frau, who's in 9th position. There's a massive mistake there. Peter Brown stopped. That could be an engine issue, that could be a pedal issue, that could be anything, but he certainly looks down and out of this race. He's going to have to exit back to pits before anyone collects him. This is absolutely heart-wrenching for that Subaru.
Yeah, this is turn 6 on the outside. The left-hander, but in just that double left-handed sequence, you see one of the cars going through there. He's not in a particularly dangerous spot, but he is stopped out there on the racetrack, and I'm not entirely sure why. But yeah, you mentioned a couple of issues that he could have had on this lap. I don't really know why he stopped there at the moment, but unfortunately he is, and dropping down the order at the moment, allowing Leite and Alvarez to both get through here. But you mentioned about Ross Clark maybe slowing down a little bit to try and, you know, just consolidate his lead, since he doesn't need to go as quickly. But sometimes slowing down might actually be the start of your downfall, because when you're in the groove like this, you just want to keep going, and you're kind of just in with it, and there's nothing that can really go wrong. But if you start to slow down, you start to do the corners a little bit differently, and you're not quite in the rhythm with doing the corners like slower. So, it can be a bit of a downfall for you sometimes. So sometimes it is just better to leave Ross Clark out there on, the leader out there on their own, just so they can do their own pace really and decide for themselves what they really want to do, because, sometimes when you're in the groove, it's more dangerous to stop.
Well, on the note of number 69, Peter Brown, he's stopped at the corner of Evolve, and it definitely looks like he has been shot there. He's still stuck on that corner, 2 laps down. But on the note of the pace, I think a good driver of Ross Clark's standard is able to vary his pace. It's one of the greatest skills a racing driver can have. And officially out of the race now, Peter Brown, a DNF by his side, the first official DNF of this race. I'm pretty sure Wallace, down in last position, will also not be classified in this particular scrimmage.
He's still going, but I don't know how many laps you need actually to get points in this one. I wonder if I can. Over 50% of the race is what you need. So where's he going to be if we're at 13 laps down on? Oh, he's going to get he's got to half distance now. So everybody may get class. I think Peter Brown's actually going to get points here. I'm not entirely sure if you have to finish the race or not to get.
Well, on the championship standings.
Oh, yes. Okay, you're right. Yeah, I've just... That's coming to my mind as soon as it's came into yours as well. So, yeah, if you don't finish the race, but you get 50% of the race, then you do indeed...
Why he's 13.
Yeah, possibly. He's into the wall now, Taylor Weiss, unfortunately. But yeah, if you get 50% of the race done, then you do get the points. Because you are classified. So Peter Brown is going to get points, so is Taylor Weiss, and so is Nidal Dujovic, even though he has had a less than ideal day today as well. As he goes down towards the hairpin, that's Pablo Lopez sweeping around his outside. He's going to be a little bit nervous about doing that, actually, because it looks like he's going to the wall as well as Dujovic.
Well, it's definitely been a long race of attrition here, and no one's been more robotic, more masterful than Ross Clark. Sven Gillerhood has also been good. No need to forget that he's dominated his class. He's only been about 9/10 off of the pace of the race leader, despite being in a technically slower class. Valente can't be overlooked either. P2, he's definitely driven one of the greatest P2 drivers I've ever seen. A brilliant recovery drive from the Italian, I believe, Valente. Yes, he is. He's Italian. Of course, because Valente was an absolutely masterful driver in an Italian Formula 3 series commentated late last year. He got a couple of race wins there in one of the larger 2 leagues there is going. And, carrying his form into GT Asia on Assetto Corsa. Of course, if you do want to join us, RACE9, you can join our Discord or look us up on the socials. I believe the Discord should be in the Twitch description. It is not. I'll try and get someone to put that in the chat. If anyone does have it, feel free to put it in the chat. So if you like what you see, you can come and have a race. It's a very welcoming community, as you can see.
Lots of drivers. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, lots of drivers on the grid today, which is good to see. From everybody appearing here today, and I'm very glad to see that. Now I'm looking now for this is the one. I know you're a fan of this livery particularly. I'll just briefly touch on this a little bit because we haven't really had a chance to look through all of them so far, so I'm just going to have a few. That's quite multicoloured from Carlos Alvarez, but I did see one that I did like. That's rather like one from that you might see in real life, really, and likewise that one with the Lamborghini of Darnell Bacon, not quite like that as well, even though it is a real life one. I think, even though it's not my favourite, I quite like the fact that this is just a bit different from Stan Gruminger, with the kind of red and orange and yellow and all sorts going on with that livery, so that's quite good. But I quite like this livery from Nidal Dujovic. I know it's the Subaru kind of standard one almost for this car, as he's losing it as well through that corner. But
save.
Yeah, it was a good save as well. But that blue, and with the kind of white writing and the red accents along the sides as well. I do really like that livery, even though it is one of the kind of more standard ones.
And I mean, we're in Japan. That was certainly a Tokyo Drift. Brilliant car control. He might be in P19, but I think he's definitely got save of the season from what I've seen. It was quite impressive. And I'd like to know which sponsor's paying you off, Ewan, with that is into the pits, actually. I think he's decided his tyres are absolutely spent and it's not worth risking. When you're already 7 laps down, it's not worth risking any more crashes that will end your race. So you might as well just come into the pits and kind of concede there. Ross Clark, though, lap 37 of 41, and it's been a masterful drive, and I can't see him having any issues getting at least points in this race, even if he disconnects, actually. He just needs to keep it going until the end, which I think he'll do quite easily here. Lap 37, as we mentioned. And he's keeping at the same pace, 130.9. That's about 1.4 seconds off his best. But you've got to take into account that he's on the soft tyres, and these soft tyres have done almost half of the race. So it's one of those things, really, where that's just a natural dip in pace. He'll be losing a lot of grip out here. And in fact, you can see the car having that loss of grip just from their body language around this 3.7 kilometre racetrack.
Yeah, it's quite difficult to control at this stage with the tyres going off the way they are. But, GT300 at the moment, just go to prove like a class order for you. Ross Clark leading the race, and in that class, of course, Valente is in second place in GT300 ahead of Lopez, who's in third. Then you have to go all the way down to Carlos Frau, who's in fourth place and ninth overall. Then the final of the GT300 cars is Dujovic, I believe, the fifth place man in this car. I thought there was one more. But Grimminger is not in the GT300 car today, so that's why we aren't mentioning him, even though he's in the standings. So Carlos Frau did come in with a 15-point lead over Pablo Lopez. He's going to lose some of that lead, but I guess more importantly, the fact that he's finished fourth, he's going to lose a good 12 points already to Ross Clark, and consider that's a 47-point margin between the two of them. And, even though Frau has got that big margin, given the pace that Clark has shown today, he may be a little bit worried about his championship hopes and aspirations after this race, because it's been a complete masterclass from Ross Clark today, whereas Carlos Frau might well get lapped in this race from his potential championship rival. So, possibly a worrying time for Frau, even though he's going to come out of today with a fairly comfortable championship lead of 12 points, I believe it's going to be.
Well, Frau definitely hasn't had a particularly good race, but he's still fourth in the GT300 race, which will still give him a good haul of points. Of course, we use the Formula 1 system in this GT Asia Championship. Sven Gillerhood in GT3 is in second place overall. That's a mighty drive from him. He's going to make it 3 from 3 races that he's done. He withdrew from the first round in Fuji, won the second round in Fuji, and won the last round in Suzuka. He's going to win this round here at Okayama. 38 laps gone in this race. We've only got about 3 or 4 left in the proceedings here this evening, and it's been a good race. It's definitely been a good race. It's found its rhythm now, and I don't think we're going to see much battling, but it was an absolutely titanic battle earlier on. We saw all the way through the field, as it looks like Dujovic is going to also retire from this race. He certainly stopped. Whether or not this is officially it for him, we saw him in the pits having some issues. And there he is. He stops. That's an engine failure. You can see the smoke coming from that engine. He's going to have to get out. No, it is smoking, but he is able to move. It's a lag spike.
His wheels are gone. I don't know quite what's going on there, but so we'll leave him to it. But he's flashing in and out of existence right now, so I'm not entirely sure quite what is going on with Dujovic in that car at the moment. But he's going to get 5th place points in that class for finishing in 5th in GT300. That's going to give him 11 points after this race. Yes, it is indeed 11 points, which is good to get him off to a start in his first race in the GT Asia Championship. So 2 laps. As that's off, I believe that's Leite in the background, and it is going into the wall off of turn 4. We've seen that a couple of times from Leite and a couple of drivers as well who have just lost the car a little bit. It looks like he's going to be okay. And where's Alvarez and all this? He's only coming towards turn 1 right now as Leite is going down towards the hairpin. So he's got a fair amount of time to just consolidate this position and he will be able to take home those points at least, but he's going to lose a fair amount of ground in the championship. I think he was expecting that, to be honest, but either way, it can't be nice to lose this amount of ground in the championship, especially with such a damaged car as he's got at the moment. Smashed windscreen and everything. It's not gone well.
Well, he's had a torrid time out there today. According to my race view, this is his third crash of the evening. Not spectacular at all. Now he's going to have to drive blind for the last 2 laps, almost. You can see barely able to see out of that windscreen. He won't pit, though, because it won't cost him too much time with Christian Alvarez behind. Even so, we'll be able to keep him behind. You feel he's crabbing a little bit. The body language of the car looks all wrong. It looks slightly slanted to one side, a bit more than usual. That's characteristic of a little bit of suspension damage or something. It looks like a very, very difficult thing to drive right now. Not something I'd like to be in the cockpit of. What I would like to be in the cockpit of, though, is Ross Clark's number 55, lap 39. We're about to start the penultimate lap. The final lap of the race, actually. We're about to start. He's coming through Sector 2 now into Atwood Curve. He's going to then go down a long straight into Hairpin for Revolver, Redman and Hobbs. Every corner on this track is named. It's quite spectacular, really.
It's good, really. I quite like that, to be honest, even though some of them can be strange and a bit obvious, like last corner and first corner and Hairpin. They're a bit obvious, but either way, it's still good to have those. But we're on the last lap right now, for lap 41 of 41, and 150 kilometres are about to be completed by most of these guys. Carlos Frau might just about be able to get them all in, and certainly 8 of these guys are going to be able to complete the full distance of this race. Even those who haven't, all 20 drivers who started this race are going to be classified at the end of the 4th round of the GT Asia Championship for 2021, and that is good to see, certainly as Carlos Alvarez and Carlos Frau go side by side down towards the hairpin, just in front of leader Ross Clark at the moment. It looks like they may well slow down and save themselves the pain of doing the extra lap, if they indeed can do that. So coming through a couple of corners now, Clark's just got a couple of cars to negotiate, and without issues he should be able to make this. Going down the inside into turn 8, and then he'll be trying to get through on Carlos Frau, although I don't think, for purely psychological reasons, Frau's going to let him have that. Although he may do, we'll wait and see as he comes through the hairpin at turn 9 for the final time. A little bit on the grass into the final couple of corners. Turn 10 and then turn 11 for the final time. Not a perfect final lap, but it's been a pretty much picture-perfect race for Ross Clark, who wins round 4 of the RACE9 GT Asia Championship for 2021. It's his first race victory in the championship all season, and it may well be the first of many, given the display that he has put on today. It's been absolutely unstoppable. Nobody has even been able to get close. Sven Guhode is the closest man to him, but he's over 40 seconds down. He's not going to mind too much because he takes another win in the GT3 Championship here to extend his championship lead to over 20 points after only 4 rounds, and it's looking like he's very difficult to stop as well, as he's going to run out victorious in the GT3 category by about 17 seconds to Kilian Sattler. Dominant drives from both Clark and Guhode in the end, with everybody else just trailing in behind. Valente is going to be third ahead of Pablo Lopez, who holds off Sattler in the end for 4th. Reyes is in 6th place. It looks like he may well have fallen back on the final few laps, but he's certainly provided the entertainment for us today. So has Alfie Bevan, who looks like he's made a mistake on this final lap, because he is down in 7th place right now, just ahead of Oliver Ferry in 8th. So no idea what happened to Alfie Bevan there, but he has lost a lot of positions on the very final lap.
It's a hat-trick of wins for Sven Guhode. Every race he's done, he's won. And that's a really nice rhyme, and it'll be rhyme to his ears, that's for sure. Carlos Frau, though, what a sucker punch to him. Hat-trick of wins. He's won every single race in this championship. In fact, he didn't even win race 1, and he still won it. He didn't even... That makes no sense. He didn't even finish race 1, yeah, and he still won it. But now in 4th position, and not even on the lead lap. Ross Clark into the pits. he can definitely smile after this one. The Brit has made a spectacular statement of authority. It wouldn't surprise me if he won the championship at the end of this season if he keeps having drives.
Yeah, indeed. So there's a few going to be disappointed, obviously, with how things have gone, and there's going to be quite a few who are pretty pleased with how this race has actually ended up. Sven Gilhard extending his championship lead from 3 points to over 20 after this race. Very successful day for him. And in the championship of GT300, Carlos Frau has his lead slashed just a little bit. Pablo Lopez 12 points behind now after 4 races. Ross Clark 47 points behind, but with the pace he's showing so far, he may well begin to just close in on that margin. But, if Carlos Frau is able to finish second in every race, even if Ross Clark finishes first, that's only going to give him 30 points over Frau. So, this is a big task on the hands of Clark right now, and he's going to need to win most of the races from here on in if he wants to win the championship. But either way, it's, good start for Frau after 4 rounds to be leading by such a margin to Clark. And obviously, we'll see if Clark can keep that pace up because it was quite good today, obviously.
And of course, don't go anywhere. We've got interviews for you now. We should have Ross Clark and in fact both of you are race winners coming your way. You can hear from them after what a spectacular race we had, actually. Nice, simple, a good example of sports car racing. Of course, there's more to come from this series. In a couple of weeks' time, we'll be going to MOT. I'm not sure what that track is, actually. Motegi, of course. Twin Ring Motegi. Wonderful little circuit, actually.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll be going there for the next couple of rounds on the West Circuit for the next race, and then in 2 weeks after that, it's the Full Circuit, which we will be going to. So, looking forward to those coming up in the next month or so. Also, there is the IndyCar Championship coming up tomorrow. Look forward to that as well. We'll make sure you tune into that one because I reckon it starts about an hour before this one does in terms of UTC time, but work that out for yourself because it's quite a minefield with the time zones. And whatever. One more point as well before we round off. Unfortunately, both of our championship leaders, our race class winners, are not going to be coming in for an interview in this one. One more thing that I've just forgotten I was going to talk about. I can't remember what it was. It will probably come back to me, but not quickly enough. Either way, it doesn't matter. I think if stand behind the cameras is okay with it as well, we'll end off the stream here at this point. The race is over and doesn't look like we're going to be able to get any interviews from these guys for the moment. So I guess all that's left to do from me and Tommy is just to say thank you for tuning in. It's been a pleasure. It's been really good to see all these guys battling it out. We've had some fantastic battles today, and 20 drivers on the grid as well. Very, very good numbers, and I've massively enjoyed this race. I hope you guys have at home as well. But from myself, Ewan O'Leary, and Tom Dillon alongside me, it's goodbye for now.
Good night.